Developing skills for the Toefl IBT. Speaking.
Chapter 1. Thinking and Speaking. Skill A. Independent Speaking. Organizing Speech. Question 1. Practice 1. Personal Experience. Listen to a sample response. Write down any useful expressions.
There are two methods that I find best for reducing stress. The first method is having a long, relaxing bath and then listening to soft music. After a stressful day, this helps me fall asleep more quickly and wake up stress-free the next morning. The second method is drinking a nice hot cup of coffee or tea in a quiet place. When I feel stress in the middle of the day, I find that resting 20 minutes in a quiet place with a warm beverage lowers my stress level significantly.
Question 1. Practice 2. Personal Experience. Listen to a sample response. Write down any useful expressions.
I was very proud of my brother when he was accepted into medical school. He had applied to medical school 4 times in the past, but he was not accepted. Still, he applied for a 5th time. On the 5th try, he did better during his interviews and provided strong letters of recommendation. He was accepted to medical school at last. It took 5 years, but he finally achieved his goal. I was very happy and excited for him. I learned an important lesson from this. You must be persistent in trying to achieve your goals.
Question 1. Practice 3. Personal Experience. Listen to a sample response. Write down any useful expressions.
When I was growing up, my family had both fish and a dog. These animals were an important part of our family. I now feel very comfortable around all animals. From my experience, I think that pets have a strong, positive impact on families. For example, my family spent a lot of time together taking care of our pets, which gave us a sense of unity. In addition, our pets taught me and my siblings responsibility. We also learned how to deal with death when our fish died. Animals can bring families together and teach us important life lessons.
Question 2. Practice 1. Personal Preference. Listen to 2 sample responses. Write down any useful expressions. Opinion 1.
I prefer to spend my money to have fun now. I believe that we are only young once, so we should enjoy life while we can. If I only saved my money for the future, I wouldn't be able to enjoy going out with my friends and traveling to different places while I am still young enough to enjoy it fully. If I did save, when I get old, I may have more money, but I wouldn't have strong relationships with friends or the enriching experience of world travel. I think these experiences, the things I'm doing now, provide me with a greater reward than saving all my money for retirement.
Opinion 2.
I prefer to save my money for the future. I believe that it is wise to plan for your retirement from an early age. If I only spend my money on having fun while I am young, I won't be able to enjoy a long, relaxing retirement or help my children get started in their adult lives. By saving now, when I get old, I will be able to enjoy a nice home and garden, and I can help my children buy homes for their families. This will provide me with a greater reward than partying all the time with my friends now.
Question 2. Practice 2. Personal Preference. Listen to 2 sample responses. Write down any useful expressions. Opinion 1.
I would prefer to have a large family, perhaps with 4 children. Having many children is beneficial in several respects. On a social level, children who grow up in large families learn to get along very well with others because they have to live with and share things with their brothers and sisters. On an economic level, more people in the family will be able to produce more money for family activities. In the long run, parents with many children will be cared for better by their children and won't be as lonely when they get older.
Opinion 2.
I would prefer not to have any children. Having no children is beneficial in several respects. On a social level, parents without children can go out easily and do what they want. On an economic level, parents without children have more money to do the things they like to do. In the long run, parents without children will be able to save their money carefully since they won't have to spend a lot of money for things for their children. Maybe I won't have any children who can take care of me later, but this does not seem like a problem to me.
Question 2. Practice 3. Personal preference. Listen to 2 sample responses. Write down any useful expressions. Opinion 1.
I prefer to spend my vacations at luxury resorts in tropical countries. This type of vacation is very relaxing, and I am constantly pampered. For example, I can have a long soothing back massage in the morning. In the afternoon, after a delicious lunch, I can be spoiled with a foot massage. The warm ocean water is only a moment away if I want to have an invigorating swim. My last tropical vacation left me rejuvenated and ready to return to the real world.
Opinion 2.
I prefer to spend my vacations backpacking through different areas in tropical countries. This type of vacation is cheap, energizing, and interesting. For example, I can hike to a mountaintop early in the morning and witness a beautiful sunrise or admire the scenic vista. In the afternoon, after an exotic lunch, I can visit a busy town. The people, music, and religion of the town are available if I want to experience another culture. My last vacation taught me so much, and I felt rejuvenated and ready to return to my normal daily life.
Skill B. Integrated speaking. Synthesizing information. Question 3. Practice 1. Reading and conversation. Now listen to a conversation related to the passage in Step 1. As you listen, take notes on important information. Write down 5 key words or key phrases that would be useful in explaining this information to someone else.
I've just been reading about the Writing Center here on campus. Do you know anything about it?
As a matter of fact, I used their services last term when I was putting together my resume for a summer job. Their tutors are all qualified and extremely helpful.
You mean that you can take non-academic writing to the Writing Center?
Definitely. They'll help you with application essays, resumes, whatever.
That's awesome. I need help on my grad school application. Where is the Writing Center?
It's in Griffin Hall, and it's open 8:30 to 5, Monday through Friday.
Those hours are perfect for my schedule. Do you think I need an appointment?
Not necessarily. If you go in and a tutor is free, they won't turn you away. They can get pretty busy though, so it's a good idea to book an appointment in advance if you can.
Wow, no appointment necessary, any kind of writing, and it's free so I can afford it. That's great. I'm going to try it right now. Thanks for the info.
No problem.
Listen to a sample response. Write down any useful expressions.
She thinks that the Writing Center offers a great service. First, she feels their service is great because they help students with both academic and non-academic writing. This is a benefit to her because she needs help writing a grad school application. The second reason she likes the service is because it is convenient. This is a benefit to her because the Writing Center's hours match her schedule, and she doesn't necessarily need to make an appointment. Finally, she thinks the service is great because it's free, so she can afford it.
Question 3. Practice 2. Reading and conversation. Now listen to a conversation related to the passage in Step 1. As you listen, take notes on important information. Write down 5 key words or key phrases that would be useful in explaining this information to someone else.
Hey Richard, where are you going in such a hurry?
I'm trying to find the admissions office. I need to drop a class today by 4 p.m.
Well, slow down. It's only 2 p.m.
You don't understand. If I don't drop my physics class by that time, I'm dead.
Okay. The admissions office is a long way from here. It's going to take you at least 20 minutes just to walk to that building. Then you'll probably have to wait in a long line to drop the class.
You're right. What can I do? I gotta get over there.
Why don't we stop in the library? You can drop the class using one of the computers.
Really? How?
You can drop the class on the registrar's website. You just need your student ID number, your password, and the course info.
You mean I don't have to wait in line with 100 other sweaty students and then deal with a nasty administration worker?
That's right.
That's way more convenient. Thanks for your help.
Hey, that's what friends are for.
Listen to a sample response. Write down any useful expressions.
The man plans to find the admissions office and drop the class there. However, the woman points out that the admissions office is far away and he will have to wait in line once he gets there. She recommends that he use the library computer to drop the class instead. The man agrees with her idea because it is much more convenient than going to the admissions office. The man says that it is more convenient because it is closer and he won't have to wait in line or talk to rude admissions staff.
Question 3. Practice 3. Reading and conversation. Now listen to a conversation related to the passage in Step 1. As you listen, take notes on important information. Write down 5 key words or key phrases that would be useful in explaining this information to someone else.
Hey, did you hear about the new Language Partners program?
I don't think so. What's that about?
The Student Center just announced it. It's called the Language Bank.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about. That's for matching conversation partners from different countries. It sounds like a great idea. I think I'll register to try to get a Spanish partner.
Really? I don't know if that's such a good idea.
Why not? I really need help in Spanish and I'd like to make a friend from another country.
True. The problem is that you don't really know anything about the person you're being matched up with. They may not be very good teachers, and they may not be very good people either. If you're having trouble with Spanish, you should ask your professor for help instead. She can introduce you to a good tutor.
You may have a point, but I think you're just being too cautious. I'm going to give it a shot.
Okay, just be careful.
Listen to a sample response. Write down any useful expressions.
The university is offering a language bank program. Students can give their information to meet partners for language exchange. The man says that participating in this program is a bad idea. First, he states that students won't know anything about the partner the program assigns them. This is a problem because the partner could be a bad person or a bad teacher. Second, he states that talking to a language professor is a better idea. This is better because the professor can introduce the student to a good tutor.
Question 4. Practice 1. Reading and lecture. Now listen to a lecture related to the passage in Step 1. As you listen, take notes on important information. Write down 5 key words or key phrases that would be useful in explaining this information to someone else.
Today, we are going to talk about natural selection. More specifically, how the peppered moth is an example of natural selection in action. Prior to 1800, most peppered moths in England had a light colour, though a small percentage were dark. The Industrial Revolution changed this. Industrial wastes and soot began darkening tree trunks and killing off light-coloured tree lichen. This led to a light-coloured variation of the moth becoming rare and the dark variation numerous. The reason for this change was due to selective predation, that is, birds were catching them and eating them. Prior to industrialization, light-colored moths were better camouflaged as they sat on light-colored trees with light-colored lichen on the tree bark. As the trees darkened, it became easier for birds to see and prey upon the light-colored moths on the trees. Conversely, dark-colored peppered moths became more difficult to prey upon. Therefore, more and more dark-colored moths survived to reproduce and pass on the dark-colored trait. Now, thanks to natural selection, the majority of peppered moths in England are of the dark-colored variety.
Listen to a sample response. Write down any useful expressions.
The professor talks about changes in the number of dark and light-colored peppered moths in England. According to the reading, for natural selection to occur, two conditions are necessary. First, a trait in a species has to change. In the peppered moth example, color is the trait that changed. It changed from light to dark. Second, the changed trait must help the species survive to reproduce. During the Industrial Revolution, the trees in England became darker. This made it easier for birds to see and eat the light-colored moths. It also made it easier for dark-colored moths to survive and reproduce.
Question 4. Practice 2. Reading and lecture. Now listen to a lecture related to the passage in Step 1. As you listen, take notes on important information. Write down 5 key words or key phrases that would be useful in explaining this information to someone else.
Our habitat on the Earth's surface is very different from the environment on other planets in the universe. One obvious difference is in temperature. The average temperature on Earth, the third planet from the Sun, is about 15.5 degrees Celsius. If we compare the temperature on our planet to the temperature on Venus, the second planet from the Sun, we will see something much different. The thick atmosphere on Venus traps the Sun's heat, making its average surface temperature almost 500 degrees Celsius, obviously inhospitable for life as we know it. We can also compare the average temperature of water on Earth and the average temperature of water on other planets. For example, the average water temperature on Earth is about 0 degrees Celsius, though it is much warmer in tropical regions. On a planet like Venus, where the temperature is extremely hot, it is very uncommon to even find water. In this case, it is difficult to make a comparison because water on Earth is common, but on Venus it is rare, and we know we can't have life without water.
Listen to a sample response. Write down any useful expressions.
The reading passage describes the conditions necessary for life and how Earth meets all these conditions. The lecturer compares the conditions on Earth with those on Venus. She concludes that the environment of Venus is not hospitable to life. First, life requires warmth, an atmosphere, elements like carbon and oxygen, and water. Venus does not meet all these requirements. It has an atmosphere, but it is too thick. This makes the surface temperature too hot for life. In addition, Venus is too hot for water, another requirement for life. For these reasons, life cannot exist on Venus.
Question 4. Practice 3. Reading and lecture. Now listen to a lecture related to the passage in Step 1. As you listen, take notes on important information. Write down 5 key words or key phrases that would be useful in explaining this information to someone else.
So, you've read about spamming. Now let's look a little more closely at what's involved in a spam campaign. As you probably recall, spam isn't usually sent by a business that manufactures products. Those businesses hire spammer companies. A manufacturer might choose to do this because spam is cheap. In reality, you can send 10,000 spam messages for less than $100. But is it really effective, or is the manufacturer just throwing away its money because everyone is deleting the spam mail before they open it? Odds are it is effective. Say a company spends $1,000 on a spam campaign. That's 100,000 messages. Even if half of 1% of people are enticed by the campaign, that's 500 possible customers for the manufacturer. Not bad for a company with a legitimate product to sell. Unfortunately, spammers know these statistics as well. So if a spammer sells a fake product and sends out 1 million spam mails, he can make a bundle.
Listen to a sample response. Write down any useful expressions.
The reading mentions that companies hire spamming services for advertising campaigns. In the lecture, the professor explains that spam campaigns are cheap. That is why companies do it. The reading says that nobody knows how effective spam campaigns really are. However, the professor uses numbers to explain that they work even if only 0.5% of people respond to the campaign. Bad spammers know this too. That is why there is so many fraudulent spam campaigns.
Skill C. Integrated speaking. Stating opinions and summarizing. Question 5. Practice 1. Conversation. Listen to a conversation. As you listen, take notes on one person's problem and the solution suggested by the other person.
Yes, I'm so happy that finals are over.
Looks like it's that time of year to make this big decision again.
What are you talking about?
Each summer, I have to decide whether to take summer semester classes at the university or get a job to make money for a few months. It is never easy to decide.
Maybe you should consider the benefits of each one. Then you could decide which one is better for you.
The only option that really seems beneficial is working over the summer. It will probably be less stressful, and I can make a bunch of money. With more money, I can enjoy my summer more and save some to buy that new car I've been dreaming of.
I can see your point, but I think taking some classes over the summer could also be beneficial.
Really? How?
Just think. If you take some classes in the summer, you won't have to take so many in the fall, and then you will have a less stressful semester during the regular school year. You'll also probably be able to graduate faster since you will have some more classes out of the way.
I hadn't really thought of that. I'll have to consider taking classes this summer more carefully now.
Listen to 2 sample responses. Write down any useful expressions. Sample response 1.
The man's problem is that he doesn't know what he should do over the summer. The man and woman talk about 2 possible options. The first option they talk about is getting a summer job. The second option they mention is taking classes over the summer. I think that the first option is better than the second one. If the man works over the summer, he can lower his stress level and rest more. Choosing this option will also give the man the possibility to make money for the regular school year and save for things he wants to buy.
Sample response 2.
The man's problem is that he doesn't know what he should do over the summer. The man and woman talk about 2 possible options. The first option they talk about is getting a summer job. The second option they mention is taking classes over the summer. I think that the second option is better than the first one. If the man takes classes over the summer, he can have an easier fall semester with fewer classes. Choosing this option will also give the man the possibility to graduate earlier by getting more classes out of the way.
Question 5. Practice 2. Conversation. Listen to a conversation. As you listen, take notes on one person's problem and the solution suggested by the other person.
Hi, Carl. I need your help. I'm trying to figure out all these enrollment procedures.
Yeah? What's the problem?
Well, I have an appointment with my advisor tomorrow to review the courses I'll take this semester. She has to approve of my choices and sign my enrollment sheet. But I'm thinking about changing my major. Should I see my advisor tomorrow or wait until I decide whether to change my major or not?
Well, You could wait, but don't wait too long. You don't want to miss the enrollment deadline for next semester.
What happens if I miss the deadline?
If you miss the deadline, you'll be charged $100, plus the classes may all be filled.
I don't want that to happen.
Yeah, maybe waiting is a bad idea. Instead, you should go see your advisor as scheduled.
But if I do decide to change, won't I have to go back to my advisor?
No, once you finish your enrollment and decide to change, you simply go to the student office and give them your changes. No need to see your advisor.
But if I decide to change my major, I'll probably have to talk to my advisor again to figure out the courses I need for that new major.
That's true, but you don't want to miss your enrollment deadline. You can always change courses without a penalty. Changing courses is usually less trouble than enrolling late.
Listen to 2 sample responses. Write down any useful expressions. Sample response 1.
The woman's problem is that she can't decide when to consult her advisor and enroll in courses. The man and woman discuss 2 choices. The first choice they discuss is seeing the advisor and enrolling in classes now. The second choice they discuss is waiting until she decides on a major. In my opinion, the second choice is better than the first one. If the woman waits until she decides on a major, she will save time by only consulting her advisor once. Furthermore, if she waits, she won't have to change classes later.
Sample response 2.
The woman's problem is that she can't decide when to consult her advisor and enroll in courses. The man and woman discuss 2 choices. The first choice they discuss is seeing the advisor and enrolling in classes now. The second choice they discuss is waiting until she decides on a major. In my opinion, the first choice is better than the second one. If the woman enrolls now, she will avoid paying a late enrollment fee. Furthermore, if she waits, the classes she wants might be filled up and she can still change her courses after she is officially enrolled anyways.
Question 5. Practice 3. Conversation. Listen to a conversation. As you listen, take notes on one person's problem and the solution suggested by the other person.
Hey Fred, are you okay? You look like you're mulling over something serious.
Hi, no, nothing too serious. I'm thinking about starting a campus tennis club. I thought it would be fun to meet other students to play with.
Sounds like a good idea. What's the problem?
There's a lot of paperwork. Then you have to ask a professor to sponsor the club. I'm kind of shy around my profs. I don't know any of them well enough to ask them for help. Plus, I do already play a lot of tennis with my friends, so I don't need a club.
If you ask me, this is a perfect opportunity for you to get over your shyness problem. You should go for it.
That's true.
Also, if you do start up the club, that will look good on your resume after graduation. Companies are always looking to hire people with organizational skills.
True, but that won't help me if I don't graduate. The second problem is time. I don't know if I have time to organize the club with all these exams coming up.
That's a good point. If you think this club will have a negative effect on your grades, then I'd advise not making it. You can always keep playing tennis with your friends.
Right. Anyhow, thanks for your advice. I'll just have to think it over a bit more on my own.
Okay, good luck.
Listen to 2 sample responses. Write down any useful expressions. Sample response 1.
The man's problem is that he can't decide if he should organize a campus tennis club. The man and woman discuss 2 choices. The first choice they discuss is organizing the club. The second choice they discuss is not organizing the club. In my opinion, the first choice is better than the second one. If the man organizes the club, he will overcome his shyness and establish a better relationship with his professors. Furthermore, if he starts the club, he will make new friends to play tennis with and have another skill to list on his resume.
Sample response 2.
The man's problem is that he can't decide if he should organize a campus tennis club. The man and woman discuss two choices. The first choice they discuss is organizing the club. The second choice they discuss is not organizing the club. In my opinion, the second choice is better than the first one. If the man doesn't spend his time organizing the club, he will have more time to study and will get higher grades on his exams. Furthermore, if he doesn't start the club, he can still play tennis with his friends.
Question 6. Practice 1. Lecture. Listen to a lecture. Fill in the missing information in the notes.
Good morning, class. Quick question. Where do sharks live?
In the ocean?
Well, yes, that's true of most sharks. However, researchers have discovered that some shark species actually live in both saltwater and freshwater environments. One such species is the bull shark, which inhabits Lake Nicaragua. Initial research studies have revealed a lot of information about this species' ability to control the salt levels within the body, so it can live in either saltwater or freshwater environments. Let's briefly compare the physiology of bull sharks in the ocean to those in Lake Nicaragua. Tests on freshwater bull sharks caught in Lake Nicaragua showed about 2/3 the concentration of salt within their bodies compared to the concentration of salt in bull sharks from the ocean. So, the freshwater bull sharks have significantly lower levels of salt in their bodies than saltwater bull sharks. On the other hand, Lake Nicaragua bull sharks have more than twice the salt of typical freshwater fish. So, they have less salt than saltwater sharks, but much more than other freshwater fish. To regulate this level of salt, the Lake Nicaragua bull sharks need to take in copious amounts of water. This is very demanding on their kidneys. That being said, research has found that bull sharks can survive in Lake Nicaragua for prolonged periods of time. Some have been found to survive in the lake for as long as 6 years. However, it seems that the bull sharks do not reproduce in the lake and must return to the ocean for mating and bearing young.
Listen to a sample response. Write down any useful expressions.
This lecture focuses on bull sharks and their ability to live in the freshwater habitat of Lake Nicaragua. The professor states that the freshwater sharks have less salt in their bodies than saltwater sharks do. In contrast, the lake sharks have much more salt in their bodies than other species of freshwater fish. She stresses that to maintain this salt level, bull sharks must take in a lot of water. Although bull sharks can live in Lake Nicaragua for a long time, they still need to return to the ocean to mate and give birth to young sharks.
Question 6. Practice 2. Lecture. Listen to a lecture. Fill in the missing information in the notes.
Okay, class. Most of you know that some of our favorite beverages like coffee, tea, and cola contain caffeine. However, many people are not aware exactly how much caffeine each of these products contains. In fact, you might be surprised at just how much caffeine you consume each day. We all know that coffee has caffeine, right? Generally, freshly brewed coffee has about 100 milligrams of caffeine per cup, and instant coffee has about 65 milligrams per cup. Although some may not realize it, decaffeinated coffee actually does contain some caffeine, though much less generally, 2 to 4 milligrams per cup. Remember, though, these amounts are just for 1 cup. Many of us drink 2 or even 3 cups of coffee in the morning. That could be 200 to 300 milligrams of caffeine just in the morning. Keep in mind that the generally accepted limit of caffeine per day should be less than 500 milligrams. Now, what if you have tea with lunch or dinner? Tea has less caffeine per cup than coffee, usually half as much or even less, say 35 to 55 milligrams. However, tea does not always have less caffeine than coffee. For example, there is one kind of tea brewed in South America called mate, spelled M-A-T-E, but pronounced mate. This tea can have up to 150 milligrams per cup. That's much more caffeine than most coffee. What else do people drink at lunch or dinner? Cola. The amount of caffeine in colas varies greatly, depending on the brand. In general, cola has less caffeine than both coffee and tea. Surprised? I'll bet some of you are. There is one cola, however, that is very high in caffeine. It is from Africa and is called Africola. Africola has 100 milligrams of caffeine per 12-ounce serving. Still, this is less caffeine than a typical cup of coffee, since a cup of coffee is about 8 ounces.
Listen to a sample response. Write down any useful expressions.
The professor talks about different amounts of caffeine in various drinks. First, he talked about coffee. The professor said that coffee has more than 100 milligrams per cup. After that, the professor mentioned tea. He pointed out that tea has less caffeine than coffee, except for an unusual kind of tea from South America. Finally, the professor spoke about cola. These beverages typically have less caffeine than coffee or tea. Again, the professor mentioned one particular exception. That exception was a cola from Africa that has a lot of caffeine.
Question 6. Practice 3. Lecture. Listen to a lecture. Fill in the missing information in the notes.
Today we are going to learn about bioindicators. I hope that some of you have heard this term before, but let's begin with a definition. A bioindicator is a plant or animal that tells us something about our environment, that warns us of potential dangers. Let's look at miners as an example. Whenever miners enter a tunnel, they are concerned about the levels of natural gas in the air. Years ago, miners relied on a tiny bird, the canary, to measure the level of natural gas. When the miners moved around in the mine, the air composition could change. So while natural gas levels in one part of the mine might be okay, in another part, the natural gas could be high enough to cause an explosion. This is where the canary helped. The canary's tiny lungs could not withstand the harmful gases. So when a canary died, the miners knew that they were in a pocket of natural gas and should leave before there was an explosion. Does everybody understand? When the canary died, it meant that the miners were in an area of the mine with dangerous levels of natural gas. The canary, you see, was a bioindicator that saved many human lives. What about other bioindicators for those of us who don't work in tunnels underground? Well, one of the more important and disturbing bioindicators today is the frog. A frog's skin soaks up pollutants very easily. By observing the changes in a frog's health, we can learn about potential dangers in our environment. In fact, more and more frogs are being born with deformed or missing legs. Also, the number of frogs on the planet is decreasing rapidly. As a bioindicator, frogs are clearly telling us that something is wrong, dangerously wrong, with our environment.
Listen to a sample response. Write down any useful expressions.
According to the lecture, a bioindicator is a plant or animal that tell us something about our environment. The professor gave 2 examples of bioindicators in the lecture. The first example that he gave was the canary. In the example, miners took canaries into tunnels in order to find out where there was too much gas. If there was too much gas, the canary died. The second example in the lecture was frogs. These animals get pollutants in their skin. Then they are born deformed or they die. This indicates that something is wrong with the environment.